Hi, it's Jeff.
And Denise from Mousesteps.com.
And this is episode number 42 of Mousesteps Weekly.
Sponsored by Theme Park Connection in Winter Garden, Florida. It's a great place if you're on vacation to get all your souvenirs.
Yeah, and some souvenirs that you can't find anymore in the parks. And also Maple Leaf Tickets, our official ticket agency with great discounted prices on theme park tickets.
Including SeaWorld and Walt Disney World.
And speaking of Walt Disney World, we were at Epcot this week.
And the Oz Great and Powerful, playground, I guess they call it the Land of Oz, this whole area with the yellow brick road just opened. Ahead of the
opened
Flower and Garden Festival.
little early this year.
And the Flower and Garden Festival, the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival, is my favorite time of year at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, we always love going there. It's always very peaceful and beautiful. Hopefully, it'll still be peaceful now that it's the flower
with all the food,
food, wine, flower, and garden.
Well,
so we'll see about that. Oh, and there's Finley.
This is Finley, who is played by Zach Braff, but you can stick your face in there.
Yes, which I did, of course.
And this is James Franco, who plays the Wizard.
Yes, the Wizard.
And Oz the Great and Powerful is actually a story mostly about the Wizard.
An origin story of how the Wizard became the Wizard.
And obviously in the original movie, there wasn't too much Wizard.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So we'll see. I like the decorations, though. They did a very nice job, very imaginative here.
There's always a playground. Usually it's a fairly simple playground in this location, which is between World Showcase and Future World, kind of along the Imagination Pavilion.
This area sort of reminds me of the Highland Games from last year, which showed up after the Flower and Garden Festival ended.
Right at the end, they kept the playground and added the games, and it was
they kept
a lot
the
of
sand
fun.
Sculpture too for a while.
They did. They kept it, and they changed it over, I believe, into a different one.
How much do you want to bet the sand sculpture is going to be Oz, the Great and Powerful?
I hope there is one this year. And maybe I think there's an area that's...
It sure is. That would be
awesome.
You heard it here first. Not that hard to figure out, but that would be very cool.
And I love when when there's a theme, like the studios, you can tell are pouring money into this, and it makes it better for all the guests.
Yeah, like when the Pixar was sponsoring the Flower and Garden Festival, it was more elaborate than previous festivals. But this is the part that's the most like the Highland Games to me, playing these games, these circus games from Mr. Oz there.
And it's really fun, and we ended up with a button and a pack of seeds. Everybody wins. And it only took us a few minutes to get through, but there was no line. It was raining that day.
I've added to our seed collection from the
fairies.
All the old seeds were fairy seeds, so this was interesting.
And here I am throwing the ring on the... Well, I didn't get anything on the Coke bottles.
Your rings on your bottles there. Very, very good.
Next to the bottles. But I still got a pack of seeds.
Yes, everyone's a winner.
Everybody's a winner. And then...
Look at this, a hidden Mickey. Hidden Mickey right there.
I don't think you got it either.
No, I totally failed.
So there are 3 tents. This one's called a fun house, but I'm not sure how fun it is to see my hips like double the width.
Yes.
Than they already are.
It's probably fun for the attendant.
Not fun for me.
Yeah, not fun for me either. That is no fun.
And you don't get anything.
It's a no fun house. The no part washed off, I think, was what it was.
So that was funny. But then this one's the pie toss, which is actually, a beanbag in the hole.
Right.
And I think you did
okay. You may have gotten one here.
I did. You didn't get it. You didn't.
But it kind of fell back out. I think that was the first one. It
So,
doesn't matter. Everyone's a winner.
Everybody wins, and I love the button.
Everybody's a winner at Epcot. Isn't that the motto? Everyone's a winner.
I don't know
that
that's the motto. I thought it was every person comes out to
And here's your prize. A fine button.
I like the button. I always like having a little, souvenir to go away with.
So do I. And there's the flower quilt. We're really getting ready. We're very excited for the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival.
This past week, we also met friends from the UK at Boatwrights Dining Hall at Disney's Port Orleans Riverside. I haven't been here, and neither have you, in at least 15 years. I sort of did a silent protest after the bottomless bowl of salad ended.
And same with me. So after all that time, we decided to give it another chance.
And I think the biggest problem was that we showed up on time for a reservation, and we waited 35 minutes, even though people who showed up later than us, guests showed up later and they got in.
And it could have been because we had a party of 5, and it ended up we had a 4-top with a chair anyway. So I don't know what was going on there. But once we got in, things improved.
Right. And this is the part of the dining hall. This is not the side we were seated on. We did.
Ooh, cornbread.
That was good and brought warm to the table.
Ooh, chicken gumbo with sausage.
With sausage.
That was also very good.
It sort of tasted like a beef soup.
And our friend had this, what is it?
Prime rib.
Prime rib, right? And he said it was a little fatty, but he liked it.
Well, prime rib is usually fatty, so that's the one thing with prime rib.
And here's a plate of cheese with pasta.
That cheese was across the table from us. Well, the food and the cheese, but the cheese smelled really strong.
Very strong. You could not miss the cheese. Your chicken
I had the
was
boutique
fantastic.
chicken.
I thought that was
It was
excellent.
very good. I found out I don't like collard greens.
What about the rice and beans?
I didn't really like that either, but the chicken was excellent. So
It was very sweet, actually.
I would have
from
gotten
what
a
I
potato
remember.
or something. I think would have been nicer. And this is my asparagus. That was $3.99 for the asparagus.
A little small for the price,
was.
but it was good, very tasty.
And your jambalaya.
Yes. What was the $17.99?
$17.99 on both our entrees.
And I thought that was very filling, giant jumbo shrimp, sausage. Not worth the price, but it was very good.
And this is our friend's chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
We didn't try that. We had the creme brulee,
Butterscotch.
which was okay.
Butterscotch creme brulee.
It tasted like any other creme brulee I've ever had.
So overall, what do you say about Boatwrights?
I'm good for another 15 years. It cost us $60. I'm not taking into account Tables in Wonderland plus tip, which would have been for an average person like $72.
The highlight was the company, really. We had a great time meeting people we had not met before.
Our server was very good.
Yeah, we had, great service.
Great service.
And it was nice to be back in the location. We used to always stay there. And I threw in a couple of new pictures from the princess room area where the fountains have been
And those are pretty,
changed.
although on my Facebook, most people seem to like the white
The classic
coloring.
fountain
Yeah,
without
the classic.
the color.
I
I
thought
liked
it was nice.
I thought it was very cool. It reminds me of Christmas with the twinkling trees.
We had not seen those pretty fountains.
So yesterday we went to the Magic Kingdom for a taping of
Live with Kelly and Michael.
That is right. And there they are. There's Kelly
That's
and
right.
Michael right now with super soakers. Luckily, we are far enough in the back to not get super soaked.
And you taped a lot of it, but I mean, the show hasn't aired yet, so we just want to show some of the characters.
Right. This was actually the finale to the show that will air tomorrow, Thursday, as we record this on Wednesday, the 20th.
And the interview, they had an interview with Zach Braff, which was very interesting because he talked about Oz the Great and Powerful, again, where he plays Finley.
And he also has a Disney connection. He was the voice on Chicken Little.
Right, so that was an interesting interview for us.
But the whole process was interesting. We arrived fairly early. We had to be there an hour and a half before the taping. Nobody told us we had to go
to the
anywhere
ferry
specifically,
boat.
so we went into the park as we normally would. And when we got in, they said, no, you have to go to the ferry boat. And there was a long queue there, and everybody had wristbands to wear. But once we were seated, it was very orderly, and the show went along in about an hour and 20 minutes or so for an hour taping.
A little over it. Yeah, it wasn't bad. And it was actually, it's something fun to do every now and then, like a show taping.
And of course, how can you go wrong? I mean, I love the highlight of the whole thing was what you're seeing right here, the characters. And there's one of our favorite princes right there, who we've seen in action recently.
Quite a bit. Like
Yes.
we see him often. So, and there's Ariel. It was fun. I wouldn't want to do it all the time, but it was a nice day.
So immediately after the show taping, we headed over to SeaWorld.
And I was chomping at the bit. The whole time we were at the Magic Kingdom, I just wanted to get over to SeaWorld and see Antarctica.
Antarctica, the Empire of the Penguin, and there is an aerial view from the Sky
And not
Tower.
Ariel like the
Not that
mermaid.
Ariel, no. We just saw that Ariel.
And we did a hard hat tour of the area.
That's correct. We actually had to wear hard hats.
I don't think I've had one. I know you've done the
I've
hard
done it
hat
before,
tour before.
World of
but-
Motion, but that was long ago.
And I haven't done it, so it was interesting to sort of see the construction process in the back.
And this is the creative director, Brian Morrow, who was sort of walking us through things with the model inside here.
And there's the penguins.
That's the entrance to the attraction, but he was pointing out the North Pole. That's the North Pole that you see right there. That is where the dirt was, where we were standing later on when you interviewed him, which will be coming up in about a minute or so.
Jeff's much better with the models than I am, but I like the penguins. That was my favorite part.
I like the penguins too. Who could not like the penguins? And I love the theming. This is fantastic. I mean, I can imagine when it's 100 degrees, it's hot in Florida, but it looks like you are in the Antarctic, and that's what of course, they're probably going for.
You think so?
I hope
you
so.
You think it should look like Antarctica?
Did you like what you saw?
I did. And I'm very excited. It's May 24th.
May 24th.
Yesterday,
that was the big announcement. May
that was
24th.
The big announcement, yes.
3 months. 3 months from now.
And it's hard to believe seeing it as it is now that it's going to be open, but it's not only going to be the attraction.
And you had a little interview with Mr. Morrow, and we are going to check that out right now.
So hi everybody, my name is Brian Morrow, the creative director for SeaWorld's Antarctica Empire of the Penguin.
Thank you very much. And can you tell us exactly where we are in relation to the attraction and kind of what's around?
Well, we're standing directly in the center of our realm, which is Antarctica Empire of the Penguin. We're kind of standing in the center of the ice, if you will, which is formulating all around us as we speak, but the guys are still working here late at night. And from this point, we can kind of depart on a couple different adventures to take. One of which, the main one, the marquee attraction directly behind me, you actually enter in between mommy penguin and juvenile penguin, which is a really sweet moment of how those penguins kind of interrelate and that love and bond they share together, which is the entrance to our attraction, which really speaks a lot to the experience you're going to have inside as well. It's going to be thrilling and dangerous and wonderful and all those amazing things and highly unpredictable. But it will also tell you that together, penguins alone, they don't do so well, but together they can survive and not only thrive in the harshest conditions of the planet, which is great.
And can you tell us, we have all these penguin sculptures over here. How close will guests be able to get to those?
Oh, so a large part of what we do is we want to ensure that we have educational interpretives throughout our attractions. And so the one that we're carving here actually will allow our guests, all guests, to walk up and touch, take photos with. Yeah, some of our guests maybe visually impaired or not see as well, so they might be able to see those penguins. They come out here and understand exactly what they look like inside through the sense of touch. But even more importantly is that these penguins all represent all the various species of penguins around the planet. They don't only live in Antarctica, they live everywhere. So we should care about all the places penguins live, right? So that's what this really allows us to do, is kind of share that message and kind of enlighten our guests and say, oh, wow, I didn't know they lived in Africa. Well, they do. It's amazing.
Well, thank you very
excited
much.
To come, right?
We are so
May
excited.
24th.
May 24th.
May
3 more
24th.
months.
Yes, 3 months. What?
3 months. So very, very exciting. We can't wait to see Antarctica.
And I think I mentioned earlier, it's not just the ride, it's shopping and dining.
Yeah, they call it a realm, which is, I think, a SeaWorld word for a land.
And he said
adventure realm, fantasy realm.
Biggest expansion in SeaWorld history.
SeaWorld Orlando history.
Yes.
Yes. So another week, a great week. Thanks to our sponsors, Theme Park Connection in Winter Garden, Florida.
And definitely good for souvenirs. We love to go there, and we always spend money.
And of course, Maple Leaf Tickets. Get your tickets there for Walt Disney World, SeaWorld shows, you name it. Great week.
SeaWorld for Antarctica.
That's right. SeaWorld. We will see you all next week.
Have a great week.